The ICC's ruling is outrageous. The organization has dishonored itself. And I would have been happy to co-sponsor a resolution denouncing and sanctioning. I wanted to co-sponsor this bill when I read the title. Unfortunately, I read the bill. Once again, we have a poorly drafted, poorly thought out messaging bill that hasn't gone through the committee process, that hasn't gone through regular order, that hasn't been thought through. No amendments are allowed on the floor. And the author defends it on the theory that, well, if the bill is poorly drafted, the Senate will save us and correct it. We cannot vote yes on a bill today that is this infirm and count on the Senate to clean it up. Once again, the Republican Party has decided to hurt Israel for its own benefit. Israel has one friend in the world, the United States, plus Guatemala. Israel has survived because it has had the support of both political parties. During the first 76 years of Israel's existence, Democrats have had roughly half the power in this city. Republicans, about half the time, have been in control. If Israel is to survive another 76 years, it will need the support of both parties. Yet the purpose of this bill, which masquerades as pro-Israel, like so many bills brought up as messaging bills, is to drive a wedge between the Democratic Party and Israel for the benefit not of Israel, but the Republican Party. The decision of the International Criminal Court's prosecutor to seek arrest warrants against Israeli leaders is an outrageous perversion of everything anyone who has dedicated themselves to human rights holds dear, as I have for 28 years on the Foreign Affairs Committee. It is a perversion of the international justice system. It is putrid. It dishonors those who originally thought that the International Criminal Court would be a good idea. It undermines the rule of law, and it is based on a hatred of Israel and perhaps a hatred of Jews. So I'd like to vote for this resolution, but unfortunately I read it. Now, the ranking member has pointed out a number of problems. I'll point out a couple as well. The key, and you cannot vote for this until you read Section 2A, 1A, which imposes sanctions on anyone who assists an effort to investigate. Assists an effort to investigate. Well, what does that mean? It includes those who provide exculpatory information. Israel was subject to investigation. I'm sure many patriotic Israelis and well-meaning Americans provided information to the ICC, as Chip Roy did when he gave his speech, detailing why that action is wrongful on the law and the facts. But you assist a investigation when you provide exculpatory information. And anyone who does that is subject to sanction. Mr. Roy won't be sanctioned because he's a U.S. citizen. But anyone else who contacted the court and said, here's what you're doing is wrong, will be subject to these sanctions. Second, this bill punishes the spouses and family members, even the estranged family members. You may feel that your son has gone wrong. By involving on the ICC, you get sanctioned for what that son does. And particularly, I want to focus on spouses. The bill punishes, as I said, spouses and family members, even those spouses and family members who oppose the ruling. So all last week, you're going to wonder why I have this poster up here. All last week, the Republican Party told us that the decision of the Aliotos to fly an insurrectionist flag at their two houses should not be imparted to the judge because it was done by his spouse. Today, 1 week later, they come back and say that when a judge does something wrong, we're going to impart it to the spouse. So which is it? Are justices and their spouses responsible for each other's actions or not? Some Republicans going to have to explain this to me. Now, of course, this is even different and more extreme. Justice Alito lived in the houses. Justice Alito did not disclaim the message of these flags, and Justice Alito is not estranged from his wife. Yet someone who is totally apart from anyone at the ICC but happens to be related will be subject to sanctions. Again, how can you defend an appeal to heaven under those circumstances? The attention of the world should be on the incredible hypocrisy on the International Criminal Court, which failed to issue rulings about driving the Rohingya from their home, about the complete depopulation of the Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh, the Republic of Artsakh, who were the entire country driven into exile in ethnic cleansing. It failed to issue a ruling dealing with northern Ethiopia, where 600,000 people died. This illegitimate court failed to issue a ruling on the Yazidis, who were subject to a genocide, who watched thousands of Yazidis being butchered and burned alive and subject to sexual slavery. Instead of focusing our attention on the hypocrisy of the court, we're focused on this poorly drafted resolution. I suggested to the author. Every suggestion I made, rejected. This was not an attempt to pass a pro-Israel bill.
Get him another 30 seconds.
The gentleman is recognized.
This was not a pro-Israel bill. Instead, it was a poorly drafted, rushed to the floor, strictly partisan messaging bill that distracts the world from the hypocrisy of the ICC and focuses us instead on a supposedly pro-Israel, performatively pro-Israel Republican bill. We'll have to vote no, and then we'll have to work later to demonstrate how wrong and how putrid the action of the ICC is. I yield back.
The gentleman yields.